Hi, my name is Josh. Today I'm going to show you how to fly one of two heavy bombers in Rise of Flight. In this case, it's going to be the Gotha G5 or GV. It is the German version of the heavy bomber, and its counterpart would be the Hadley Page. I chose to select this aircraft because it is the more difficult of the two to fly, therefore you might learn a little bit more from this. So, going to the hangar, if you notice that the aircraft is right now at 100% fuel, I'm going to bring that down to about 50. I'm going to put 4 100 kilogram bombs on it and reduce our load just a little bit. It's almost impossible to really get this aircraft off the ground with a full load. Not to say that you can't do it, but you can. But you need a really long runway or area to take off from. And even then, odds of you even trying to climb are pretty slim. So we're going to get started, and here I am in the cockpit. So, looking down here just above the yoke, I can't actually get down that far right now, but looking down here, the instrument just above the yoke or steering wheel between the dash is the engine RPM indicator. Over here, the black is the altimeter or altimeter, and the white here is the airspeed indicator, and the thing down there is the compass. Right here we've got our throttles and then the altitude throttle. If you notice by looking at the engine here, or this aircraft, it is multi-engine, so there is engine management going on. And from now on, I'm going to refer to these as engine number 1 and engine number 2. And you can see that we're able to control engine 1 and engine 2 together based on the radiator blades moving. So we know that we have control of those engines. However, in event of emergency or during startup procedures, if you really want to be realistic, you want to independently operate these engines. And you would do that by pressing the 1 key. So I'm going to press engine number 1 and hit the E as in echo or engine and start the engine. Now I've selected the engine, so by pressing the 1 key, now you want to hit the 1 key again and deselect it. Because if you try to go to engine number 2, then without deselecting this, then you will kill this engine. So it's deselected. I'm going to press the number 2 for engine number 2 and hit E. And we're going to hit the 2 button again to deselect this engine. So right now we have no engine selected. And again, that can be verified by the blades on the radiators not moving when I'm manipulating the controls. As with the throttles, how they're not moving. So, the 0 key will allow us control of both of these engines. Now you see the blades are moving, right there, and you can see the throttles are moving. I did a cold startup, and engine warm-up is modeled here, so I'm going to keep the radiator blades closed, and I'm going to throttle this aircraft up to about 700-ish. Let that engine warm up. Now, when you look over here, in the center of my screen is a windsock. The wind is kind of coming from our right to our left off this wing. I'm going to shoot for that little gap right there where the truck is in between the trees. But I'm going to need to do a back taxi in order to do that. So let's add a little bit of power and get the plane moving. Just enough to get it moving. For taxi, you want to, it's kind of weird, but for taxi you want to steer in the direction that you don't want to go in. For example, that tree line. I don't want to go to that tree line, but I'm using right aileron and no rudder to make this left turn. And it's very important to notice that you want to roll out of your turn very almost prematurely, so that you don't want to overshoot, for example. It's very easy to ground loop, and it takes just a little bit of practice to do. You kind of want to babysit the engine. Don't give it a whole lot of power, just enough to keep the plane moving. You don't want to go too fast and hit a slope here and nose over. Wouldn't be good. So I'm almost where I want to be. Again, I'm going to use just left aileron and no rudder. I've got a hill coming up here, so I don't want to go too fast. I'm going to use left aileron and no rudder, and we're going to make this right-hand turn. And I'm going to bring the aircraft to bear exactly where I'm looking at right now. In the center of the screen, that gap in the trees. Again, I'm steering left with the ailerons to make this right-hand turn. Now this will almost not become effective when you go to fly, when you start taking off. So now we're lined up, and I'm going to apply full power and gently forward on the stick to get the tail out of the ground. Once the tail is raised, then the aircraft almost becomes a different animal. Again, we're shooting for the gap, so very, very light on the controls. You almost want to steer toward the trees over there where I'm looking to avoid that. And same as over here, I want to steer left to avoid those trees. Let the aircraft fly itself off the ground. You don't want to ever pull back on the stick, just let it fly itself off the ground. And once you're off the ground, keep the nose down attitude, sort of like I've got right now. It looks like we're going to hit the trees, but you want to keep it down and build up some airflow over the wings so that you can climb. Right now I'm doing about 105 knots. So right now we just want to stay on this heading and pick up airspeed. Now we can kind of stair-step it up a little bit. If we want to climb, we need to keep an eye on our airspeed though. We don't want to get below 100 knots. So if we want to climb, we can pull gently back and bring the nose up just a little bit. And then you want to make sure and push it back down and recover that speed. We're really not losing any altitude here because the way that the aircraft is trimmed, or the way that it's designed, is designed to be flown almost nose down like this. In order to make a turn, again, you want to push the nose down, move the ailerons to the right into the turn, and then once the nose gets moving on the horizon, then you can add in rudder. Don't ever, under any circumstances, pull back on the stick to increase your turn radius unless the nose starts dipping down below the horizon. Only pull back gently on the stick in a turn, like I'm doing now, just to keep the nose where it's at on the horizon. That's how you would make a turn. I'm going to overfly the airfield here and go into a downwind leg and make a left-hand turn and show you how to enter the pattern, or not necessarily enter the pattern, but I'm going to go into my downwind leg here and show you how to make a left-hand turn and execute a final approach and landing instructions. So right now, we're pretty much looking at where we took off from, the gap in between the trees. And I'm going to fly this way. The strip out in front of us, where the buildings are, just above that where the tree line is, the little silver line is a river. And just beyond that is a road. So what I'm going to do is again, you want to keep the nose down here. Like I said, you can climb a little bit, but stair-step it. Don't get carried away with your climb. You always want to push the nose back down and recover that speed. So just on the other side of this river is a road, and once I get on the other side of that, I'm going to make a left-hand turn and enter my final approach back into the wind so that we can land in the same direction that we took off from. As you can see, there's the road, there's a river, and then in this bank of trees is another road. Reminding again, make sure you keep the nose down. You want to keep an eye on that. You don't want to let the aircraft get away from you looking around and have it start climbing, because it will do that on its own. I'm going to open up the radiator here just a little bit. The engine's warmed up enough. Okay, I'm crossing over the road, pushing the nose down. I'm going to make a gentle left-hand turn. Again, I'm almost not moving the stick at all, but I'm making a gentle left-hand turn. Once the nose gets going, Then you can add in rudder and only pull back on the stick as necessary to keep the nose on the horizon, and you lose a lot of speed and turns with this aircraft. So now that we're on final approach and you want to roll out of your turn right about now, now that I'm on final approach, final speed is going to be about 100 knots, but again, keep the nose down. We want to keep airflow over top of the wings. So I'm right at about 100. I'm going to keep my airflow right, or my speed right about here. And it looks like we're going in at a dive, and it's a pretty steep dive, but again, you want to keep speed over the wings. This aircraft, if it loses, if you get to your stall speed, the stall is extremely violent, and and it'll just really fall out of the sky. So keep the nose down, and then pull back gently on the stick. Right about now, add a little bit of power so that you can level yourself out and meet the ground. And we have made contact with the ground. Now that we've done that, pull back on the stick to settle the tail on the ground, and the same rules apply that you did with the taxi. You want to steer toward the objective that you want to go away from. Just keep adding power a little bit to keep the plane moving. Doesn't have to be a whole lot. You kind of want to look around here a little bit so that you can see what's up in front of you. And once you've done that, I mean, it's pretty much cake. I hope this helped out some of you, and if you liked it, I'll make some more. Have a good night.